Hello, welcome to the lecture 10. Oh, it's already 10 of game theory course. I have introduced the Nash Equilibrium in the previous lecture, and then we are going to check out the applications of Nash Equilibrium. Of course, I mentioned about every car goes on the left and every car goes on the right. Is there another real examples of Nash equilibrium? Yeah, the name is coordination game. Let's look at the game. Consider there is a company which makes some product and sell. And usually this kind of firm or company needs these two kind of a department. The production part and sales part, because somebody got to make a car, but that car should be sold. I mean, you made a car, that does not mean the consumers will automatically buy your car. The car should be properly exhibited, introduced, and advertised, and things like that. So sales is also important. The assumption is, okay, if the production and sales work hard, their car would be loved by the consumers. Okay? If, however, if the production works very hard but sales does not work hard, what is going to happen? The car sales would not be good at all. I mean, the selling of car, producing and selling of a car is only possible by the cooperation of production part and sales part. If just one part does not work very hard, it just everything goes null. I mean, no cars would be sold. So that is why I put 0 here, because the sales become lazy. They cannot sell the car, even though the production works hard and production it's -5 because they cannot sell the car, and sales at least they didn't try, but production tried. That's why they got -5. So think about situation. Production worked night, day and night. Sales just go home, doesn't work very hard. The end result, no car sales was possible. The car sales this week was 0. And then the salesperson, oh, there's nothing I can gain, but I have no regret because I was lazy. But production part, I worked day and night. I made a good car, but because of sales, I was not going to be compensated. Kind of situation. Okay. On the other hand, if production is lazy, the sales work very hard. The sales did everything, but then the production made a lousy car, then the car would not be sold. If both are lazy, no car sales, but at least they have no regret because they didn't work very hard. They know why the car was not sold at all, kind of thing. Of course, what would be the result? One possible result is working hard and working hard. So as a result, the production part get 10, sales part get 10. Why is it the Nash equilibrium? If the sales part, we call it deviate, get out of this Nash equilibrium, working hard, then 10 would become 0. The payoff decreased. So it's not going to be happening. The sales would not change from work hard to lazy when the production is working hard. Likewise, when sales work hard, production change from work hard to lazy, his payoff to be from 10 to 0. It's decreasing. That's why working hard is equilibrium. Is this the only equilibrium in this game? The answer is no. You might have noticed that being lazy, that can be an equilibrium too. Why? They're getting 0 and 0. If production part working hard, 0 become -5. If the sales part working hard, 0 become negative 5. So this is lazy, being lazy and lazy is also a Nash equilibrium. So we have, once again, multiple Nash equilibrium, which is a very common thing when we are talking about Nash equilibria. What does this mean? So there is two equilibria, being lazy and lazy. Very unfortunate. The players get 0 payoff, while they can get 10 and 10 by working hard. But moving from being lazy to working hard, that is not automatic. I mean, how can sales persuade production part to work hard? How can production part persuade sales to working hard? That needs great leadership. I mean, if you go to a underdeveloped country, say, you should work hard. Then say, even though I work hard, the government does not work hard, the other military does not work hard, then my effort would be useless, they would say. Okay? So they wouldn't try, kind of thing. So it's easy to say, let's work together very hard, then we can change from 0 to 10. But then they say, okay, we may try, but what if sales part does not try? Or what if the production part does not try? The problem gets more complicated if there is another part, the auditing part or purchasing part or something else like that, labor part. So in company, many parts work together and their effort would be realized only when every part, no exceptions, work hard. But then people do not trust each other, kind of thing. The economists call it coordination game because sales and production part should coordinate to achieve this 10 and 10. I'm pretty sure you never heard about coordination game before this class. However, what about win-win game? You must have. So this is the shortcoming of economists. Economists thought about this great coordination game concept, but we named it wrong. Coordination game. Nobody can guess what it really means. But then the business school people say win-win. Wow, it comes. So sales part can win, production part can win. This is a win-win game. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is this is very realistic problem, and there is bad equilibrium, being lazy, and good equilibrium, working hard. But then even though it looks kind of sloppy, the Nash equilibrium may look. However, once you begin to play the Nash equilibrium lazy, it is actually very tough to get out of this Nash equilibrium. Actually, that is the definition of Nash equilibrium. Once you begin to play, nobody has reason to change. Exactly same structure, but we can use this kind of coordination win-win game for macroeconomics. Like you spend one semester to study macroeconomics, but it can be explained a little bit easily by game theory. There is a producer and consumer. Okay? Consumer has income M. The consumer can spend M or save M. They are not going to save 100%. They are not going to spend 100%, but save a lot and spend a lot, kind of thing. Producer can increase the production Q or decrease the production Q. Okay? If the consumer and producer increase production and spend money, that can be a good equilibrium, good result. Why? Producer increase the production quantity Q. They might be worried, if I produce, would consumer buy? But then luckily the consumers decide to spend money. So they are going to buy from it. Consumers, when they are spending money, they must be worried. Okay, I spend the money, but then can I have an income? Can I have a job? Yes, because producer increase the quantity, they need more people, they will increase the wage. So this is kind of good circulation thing. The producer increase, the consumers spend more money, so they buy. Where they got the money income to spend the money, they got a job because producer increased the quantity, kind of thing. On the other hand, there is another equilibrium. Producer decreased the quantity, thinking that consumers is not going to buy, and as expected, the consumers didn't spend the money. They does not spend money. They save the money. Okay, so they do not have this. They do not need great income because they are not spending a lot. But then the producer decreased the quantity and hire less, kind of thing. Okay, so even though they are kind of timid in economic activities, but their damage is not so big because both are prepared to the other part to be timid, not aggressive. Okay, what if the producer increase Q and consumer save a lot of money? The producer increases, therefore he expect to sell a lot, but consumers does not buy because they save the money a lot. So the producer lose like -5. What about the consumers? Consumers does not spend a lot of money, and for a while, because the producer increases, they can have job and income, so it's not so bad. Likewise, if producer decrease quantity and consumers spend money, but because producer does not increase the quantity, they lay off, they are not hiring a lot, so the consumers lose income, lose jobs, kind of thing. So consumers lose jobs because they spend a lot of money while they are losing jobs. On the other hand, producer, it's not so bad because they do not produce a lot, but then consumers would buy. Compared to increase Q and spend M, which I assume 10 and 10, and decrease and save money, of course, here consumers have higher income, spend more, producer increase quantity, hire more people, more profit. So this is better than decrease Q, save M. However, both are, as in the previous coordination game, are the equilibrium because increase Q, spend M, you got 10 and 10. If you change, 10 would become 5, 10 would become 5, so you have no reason to change. If save M and decrease Q is being played as a Nash equilibrium, you change, then 5 would become -5, 5 would become -5. So when the other party is not aggressive, you alone being aggressive, for example, increasing quantity yourself, -5, spend money when the company is decreasing Q is -5 for you. So once again, this green part, decrease Q, save M, is a Nash equilibrium, as well as increase Q, spend M is also a Nash equilibrium. So we have two Nash equilibria, and from macroeconomics point of view, the economy is booming and very good when this yellow equilibria is happening. So that is kind of good equilibrium. This green equilibrium is kind of bad equilibrium. When, for example, nowadays the corona is widespread, sometimes there's a depression, then government spend a lot of money. Why are they doing that? The consumers does not spend money. They somehow want to move from bad equilibrium, which they are now, that's a recession, to the booming good equilibrium. So how can you change from bad to good? Usually the consumers, because the consumers do not spend a lot of money, in place of consumers, the government spend a lot of money. That is expansionary policy. So either government purchase a lot or either government print out money a lot they try to move from 5-5 to 10-10. Okay? So once some of the consumers spend money, then producer acknowledged it, and the consumer spend money. So now I'm getting 5, but I can get 10, something like that. So that's what the government is aiming for when they are using the macroeconomic policies. So it can be a game between consumers and producers. Macroeconomics is easy, I may say. This Nash Equilibrium, we are going to deal with more real examples, but has a problem, which is multiple equilibria problem. I mean, I already told you that the good thing about dominant equilibrium is it's unique. So when we realize that Nash equilibrium is not unique, it's multiple, it cannot be a good thing. Think about an example. The professor, I tell you, let's say we have 300 but 100 students to write down a color without talking to each other. Okay, right now, open your notebook and write down a color. Okay, don't talk to each other. If you talk to each other, that's cheating kind of thing. If all 100 students write down the same color, like red, blue, yellow, then I'll give A+ to everyone. Otherwise, you should take an exam, you may get C. Okay, something like that. What would the student want? In the equilibrium, of course, if it's a normal student who want to get A+ in their class, they got to write down the same thing. Like everybody red, everybody blue, everybody white, everybody black, something like that. Would that be really happening? I don't think so. You wouldn't think so, because out of 100, some people will write white, some people will write blue, and things like that. It's almost impossible, near impossible, for everybody, 100 students, write down the same number. But then, think about that. If everybody write down the color red, then they will get A+. If just one of them change from red to blue, they are not going to get A+ anymore, because the professor promised. So, everybody writing down red, 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 red 100 times, everybody writing down blue, 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 same color, is definitely a Nash equilibrium. The problem is, the Nash equilibrium is multiple. One Nash equilibrium, everybody red. The other equilibrium, everybody white. The other equilibrium, everybody blue. So there are as many number of Nash equilibria as there is a color. Pink, like green, or purple, any color you name it, there is one Nash equilibria in this game. However, even though there are so many Nash equilibria existing in this game, in reality, the Nash equilibrium is not going to be chosen. What's the problem with Nash equilibrium then? Okay? Because there are so many multiple Nash equilibria, but none of them would be chosen because some people write down red, some people write down blue. It is not really a problem. The answer is we have to look at the definition of Nash equilibrium more carefully. It implicitly assumes that people promise before they actually act. So Nash equilibrium is a promise between the players, which is neither binding nor enforced. What does this mean? If everybody write down red, 99 people, student, just one person write down blue, what will happen to him? The other 99 will kill him? Or he go to jail? No. They say, I'm sorry, but then nothing would be punished. I mean, I want to write down blue kind of thing. But then, still nobody forced it, but then if this is a Nash equilibrium, all the players are willing to abide by the original promise. Why? If everybody write down red, if I also write down red, then I'll get A plus kind of thing. So in the previous example, let's assume the 100 students, before they write down the color, agreed, let's write down red. Everybody, like there is one class leader who tells everybody, let's write down red. But you don't like red color, actually. But I bet you would write down red instead of blue, because if you write down red, everybody else, especially you, will get A plus. So what does this mean? When we talk about Nash equilibrium, we kind of assume that the people are talking to each other in advance. Okay? So, because there are so many different Nash equilibria, if they do not talk to each other, they do not know whether this is red, 100 times equilibrium, or blue, 100 times equilibrium. So, in order for the Nash equilibrium to work, they communicate and say, this time, let's write down white. Then, everybody, I'm pretty sure, write down white, because writing down white when everybody else is writing down white is best interest for you. So Nash equilibrium has multiple equilibria problems. So without communication, they do not know which equilibria they should play. But if they talk to each other and pick up one Nash equilibrium, then that would be played. Okay? That's the implicit meaning of Nash equilibrium. One thing I want to warn you is that Nash equilibria is a very tricky thing. When you first learn the Nash equilibrium, oh, that's easy. I mean, how come anybody get Nobel Prize with this easy concept? But then you realize yourself that you misunderstood it. So now this time you understand? No, you misunderstood. So after usually 5 times of misunderstanding, you realize and you correct your concept, then maybe you can get a correct concept of Nash equilibrium. Nash equilibrium, the existence in most of the game, especially when the number of players and number of states are finite, Nash equilibrium always exists. So there are 100 players, each player have 100 strategies. You bet there is definitely a Nash equilibrium. So Professor John Nash proved this. The finite number of, it's not infinite. So there are only 8 billion people in the world. So number of players cannot be infinite. And if their strategies are finite, you have million strategies still finite, unless it's infinite. Then Nash equilibrium exists. So we can guess in most of the cases Nash equilibrium exists. It's mathematically proven. If you go to the graduate school, you can see how it can be proved. Another a good characteristic of Nash equilibrium is whatever happens in the real world, the chances are that is one of the Nash equilibria. I told you there are many Nash equilibria, multiple Nash equilibria in usual games. Of course, there can be one Nash equilibria, but in most of the games, there are multiple existence. But, so you may say, you say it's one of those 5 Nash equilibrium that is happening. Yeah, that is not very exciting. But whatever happens, on the other hand, there are a million possibilities, but whatever happens, that should be one of these 5. In other way, that means something. So game theorists try many concepts, and some things are better than Nash equilibrium concept. But let's say Professor Han, found out Han equilibrium, then that is probably one of the Nash equilibria. Okay, there are 100 Nash equilibria. Han equilibrium is out of 100. Just this 10 makes more sense kind of thing. So even though game theory develops, people find a better equilibrium, that is still a subset of Nash equilibrium. So Nash equilibrium is some kind of necessary condition to make a prediction. Some Nash equilibrium doesn't make sense, but if some prediction makes sense, that's got to be Nash equilibrium. That's what we over and over finding out. In many games, Nash equilibrium exists in multiple. Therefore, Nash equilibrium makes sense only when we assume a previous agreement between players. I think I already explained it. I think different cultures explain it. Like in some country, when man and lady married to each other, the man purchased the house, main response. In some country, the woman, the bride, is responsible to purchase a house, kind of thing. So it's different culture. It's different culture, but different culture means different Nash equilibria. So I mean, when man and wife are getting married, somebody got to purchase the house. In India, it's wife's burden. In Korea, traditionally at least, it's man's burden or man's father and mother's burden kind of thing. So I think both are in Korea, like always the man's response to purchase the house. Then even the Indian lady who get to marry Korean man and live in Korea, she will adapt to Korean culture because it's one Nash equilibrium. If Korean man go to India and getting married to an Indian lady, he will accept the Indian culture, which is another Nash equilibrium. So this cultural difference, like cars going on the left, cars going on the right, we cannot say which is better than the other because they are both Nash equilibria. So cultural difference, I think, is from game theorist point of view, is different culture choosing different countries, different regions choosing different Nash equilibrium. Thank you. This has been the lecture 10 of game theory.